College hoops, coast to coast. Here we go again. Sweeney has the 2-tone/3-tone hoodie on. I don't know where he got it, but he's rocking it. We're ready to do this thing. What up, Sweeney?
Man, I'm wiped out from two straight weeks of ball, but ready to kind of settle in. And it's been a great run of games, and time to catch my breath a little bit. I don't know.
What does settle in look like for you?
I don't know. Not go on a trip every 2 days. That'd be good. Hey, you've been globetrotting. You've been in and out.
We're making it happen. Yeah, we're making it happen. Looking forward to more. So I'm hopping on Southwest quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
getting some mileage.
Need it.
Yeah, I got some cool games I'm going to this week too. So I went to Texas Creighton last week. Of course, calling some games at SMU and at Texas A&M Commerce on that side, Wyoming and UNC on this side. So yeah, getting a little bit of both. I'm going to Oklahoma State and Sam Houston State on Tuesday. Sneaking a little mid-major deluxe Big 12 matchup. And who knows what else is up my sleeve, but I'm trying to fit in more games that are in proximity to games I'm broadcasting to just go watch as a fan so I can see it up close. Texas Creighton, I'm sure we'll get to it, but that was unbelievable. And you went to Portland for Feast Week, and then you've been a little bit everywhere. You saw Baylor and Marquette play up close. We haven't done this in a week. There's a lot's happened, man. So we got a lot to catch up on.
A lot has happened. Yeah, Baylor Marquette was a wild game. Just kind of the proof and the power of a home crowd. And talk about that a little bit later with Rutgers, another team that has as good a home court advantage as in the country. And then took in a little Chicago rivalry, Loyola DePaul. Overtime game yesterday, really high-level game.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see who won that game. I kept following.
DePaul came out and found a way. Wow. The game script, I mean, it was almost identical to the previous year where DePaul took a lead and then Loyola rallied on them in their home gym. This time Loyola had a 17-point lead very early. DePaul's shot making with Emoji Gibson and Javen Johnson.
Texas guy, Waco. Let's go, Mo.
He's been awesome. Playing point guard.
Baller.
Awesome.
Started at North Texas in his career, or started his career at North Texas.
Yeah.
Then started off the bench, but then became a starter. Was a big-time shooter, and then went to Oklahoma. Yeah, man.
That's a nice rivalry game. Great, 4 miles apart, high energy in the gym. That place was packed. I know that there are some questions as to whether that series will continue after this year, because they're
done.
one of the two programs is not interested in continuing it, but hopefully it continues because it's great for college basketball.
It's so hard, man. This so before we get to 27, it's just so hard because there's a beauty of the game that we all love as fans. And it truly, if the coaches weren't so concerned with the net and all this other stuff, then they would probably play. But because the formula to get an at-large bid or to put yourself in position feels like it's so, man.
And the other thing that's hard about it too is just you can replicate a rivalry game from the net perspective without it hurting your image if you lose the game, right? And we see this a lot of high major versus mid major. And Loyola DePaul has become a very close rivalry in terms of the caliber of the two programs, and that's more a statement on Loyola than it is about DePaul.
Right.
But you go through like in Utah, right? Like why does Utah not play Weber State? Right. Why does Providence not play Bryant? Right. Because why does UConn not play Fairfield? Right. Like why does Rutgers not play Princeton? And the reason why is that why would you play that team and get embarrassed potentially when you could go play when Utah can buy Sacramento State instead of Weber?
And this is a little bit of a stretch. I'm gonna go on this one. But the Joe Golding, Shaka Smart, Abilene Christian, Texas matchup in the tournament, like they would have lost. They would have, if they were going to lose, you'd rather lose to
anyone else
team that's not in your state, right? Because
Shaka Smart might still be coaching at Texas if he lost to Princeton instead of Abilene Christian.
Right. It's just there's something about it. Like you said it. It's like the risk reward feels like, well, if we win, we were supposed to win,
right?
And if you lose, then it's like So the irony in this state, in Colorado, I just talked about some of the teams I call games for. Northern Colorado picked second in the Big Sky. They lose to Colorado Christian, which is a D2 in the state that is typically maybe not in the upper echelon as far as where they're picked. So then it's like, oh, well, they must be down this year. And I keep saying my new line is like college basketball, no one is safe. It's my new line. No one is safe. So then rivalry week on this side, Northern Colorado goes to Colorado State. Not supposed to win that game. They're a 15-point underdog based on whoever the expert that picks the underdogs. They win by 5, 88-83.
And so with Isaiah Stevens. Yeah, with Isaiah Stevens there.
With Isaiah Stevens, who's not at full strength, but he's there.
Yep.
He's still a presence. So tip your hat to them. Big time win. And obviously those guys are my guys. Both sides. I love both staffs and get a chance to work closely with both of them. But I do games for Northern Colorado. So we rep Northern Colorado.
But give credit where credit is due in your state, right? Like Colorado State plays Northern Colorado. Colorado State plays Colorado. Colorado plays Colorado State, right? Like
I was going to say, so this same week, Colorado next, I think it's tomorrow.
Thursday.
Colorado plays Colorado State. So in this state, you got to give credit for that because they're actually playing each other.
Let's hope it continues. Let's hope it continues.
They're not afraid for it. For now. It's all good until somebody loses. That's when it's like, we're not playing this game anymore. It's all good until somebody loses. All right. Anyway, to the good stuff. Sweeney 7. Let's get straight to Utah had a monster week starting with a win against Arizona. 2-0 against in Pac-12 play. Talk about Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year didn't go the way that Craig Smith had hoped in his first year, but you and I have been following his journey and the job he did at both South Dakota and at Utah State. And that guy builds programs and he wins. He finds ways to get it done. And so I don't think we should be as surprised as we are that Utah's 2-0 in the Pac-12. That Utah looks like a team that could play in the postseason. I don't know if they're a tournament team. Certainly beating Arizona is a huge feather in their cap. That's a win that will last with them all the way through Selection Sunday. But they've just done a really nice job of kind of plugging in some holes with in the rotation with transfers and also freshmen. They took a kid from Wasatch Academy, Kebakeda, when a lot of teams would have went portal for a backup big. They said, let's take a stock rising freshman. He's been awesome, was really good for them against Arizona, was solid today against Washington State. So ton of credit to Craig Smith, who I think has a group that has a chance to be pretty darn good. And in a Pac-12 that we've kind of seen anyone can already beat anyone, right? Utah beats Arizona. Colorado obviously had that loss to Grambling, but it's beaten Tennessee. Arizona State lost to Texas Southern, but blew out Michigan, has some good wins, right? Like anyone can beat anyone. I think Utah has a chance to maybe move up a little bit in the Pac-12 and play in the postseason this year.
Yeah, no one is safe. College basketball. I think Craig Smith he's proven it time and time again. He overachieved quickly at Utah State. No one thought it was going to happen that fast. I think we got spoiled with it and thought maybe Utah would get flipped that fast too. Took a little bit of a time last year, which that's typical. They were human, but now making a jump way more than what people thought. Just kind of lowered the expectations so they could be off the radar, and then here they are back doing their thing again. So shout out to him, shout out to the staff, shout out to my homeboy DeMarlo Slocum, one of the best in the business. All right, so we'll slide to. Can we just while we're on the Pac-12, can we just give one quick? Can we just go Deion real quick? Can we just real quick?
Coming to your state, man.
Can you just give us your thoughts on Deion really quick, and then I'll say mine, and then we can move on.
I mean, the guy is going to bring 7 wherever he is, and when you get an opportunity to make a hire like that and roll the dice and kind of push the chips in, I always will respect it. I understand why other ADs don't want to, because you're giving away a lot of power than AD usually has. But I think at a place
in what way you think? What would you say on that? Because he's
just bigger. He's bigger than you, right? Yeah. I mean, any football coach is going to feel bigger than the AD, but like it is going to be such a spectacle and so larger than life, and he's going to operate his own way, and you have to hope it works. But I think when you're at a program like Colorado in college football, and I think in college basketball too, like there's a lot of programs that are kind of positioned like this. Like you can tolerate mediocrity or you can roll the dice and hope it produces something great. And like we know there's a past with Deion that there's a chance it won't go great, right? Like the prime prep stuff you can't run away from. Like that was not a good situation. It's one of the reasons why I think more ADs weren't in on hiring him, right? There is still a past there. And he doesn't kind of fit the traditional molds, but man, is he an impressive guy to listen to speak. The success he had at Jackson State is very real. Like he is not being handed this job because of his name. Like he would be in the mix for jobs, maybe not Colorado, but he would be in the mix for jobs just based on the work he's done as a head coach at Jackson State with the winning and the success that they've had. So, I mean, I'm excited to watch. It's gonna be fun. Things are gonna be a little bit different in Boulder.
No doubt. Boulder, Colorado. Welcome to Colorado, Deion. I don't know if you may not watch this. You got a lot to do, but welcome to Colorado.
Is he welcome for dinner at the Burton house?
Always.
Are you cooking?
Definitely not, because I want him to come back. we'll leave that to Natty B. She's the queen. She's great at what she does. We may even invite Grandma over and have her cook because she's got the Costa Rican recipes. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'll just say 3 quick things, maybe 4. Number 1, the dude is just elite. I mean, he's elite as a player. He has a presence that you cannot replicate, and I think you've already said that. He's figured out the marketing machine for this day and era of college athletics, for social media, the documentaries, the content, and it's not just for show. It's just prime being prime, and he already has the following. So most people could try to do the same, and you wouldn't be able to replicate it because, you're not a Hall of Fame athlete that was in the pros, played 2 sports, and did the whole 9 like Deion did. But you just got to give him credit because he put a place like Jackson State on the map, not just with the marketing, though, because they won. They won 2 championships in a row, went undefeated again this year. And it's easy to forget that they had the number 1 recruit in the country come to them at Jackson State. So it's got to give you a feeling of the capability.
They're going to get some players now.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to get players want to play. Players want to play in the NFL. Let's be very blunt. That dude's been there. He's done it as a player at a Hall of Fame level. Obviously, he's got the cool factor. His sons are going to do some recruiting for him because obviously the quarterback is for sure going with him. I just think it's exciting. And I love the fact that Deion's in a place. People say it was a move about the money. Deion doesn't need any more money. However, the resources he does want and need, because the resources get you to play at a higher level, get your athletes more stuff, get your staff more. So now you can have I love the fact that Boulder was bold to make this move. He even thanked them to do the same. He talked about minority coaches have been fired and not replaced by minority head coaches, black head coaches. And he said, I appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity. So I love it, man. I think he did a phenomenal job at his press conference. I think people that you can still support Deion and still support HBCU. It doesn't mean you have to choose. It doesn't mean he should have just stayed forever. So anyway, I could talk about this all day. I'm hyped for Deion. It's going to be must-see TV. They're going to win, and they're going to do it in style. That much I know. Boom. Texas, 2nd straight top 10 win.
Speaking of doing it in style, bringing a little excitement, re-energizing a fan base, Chris Beard knows something about that.
He does. He also understands this generation and this era of social media and how to brand a program and how to connect and how to be a player's coach and let it be known. I'll let Kevin go first. I did get a chance to go in person. I actually got to see shoot around this time too, which was fantastic. It's always great when you can see the behind the scenes and then watch the real deal. But Texas is definitely – they were picked high last year by a lot of people. Some people had them second even in the preseason just because they're recruiting. They didn't have a team that had earned that yet, but this team has earned every bit of number 2.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they haven't done it away from home. And that's the one thing that you look at and you say, okay, maybe Gonzaga and Creighton aren't that elite, right? Creighton just lost to Nebraska. Gonzaga's on 3 losses now. Maybe those aren't top 5 wins, right? Maybe we're over hyping Texas a little bit off of that. But at the end of the day, like, they are night and day just when you watch them from where they were a season ago, in terms of the ball movement, in terms of the cohesion, the togetherness, the buy-in to what Chris Beard is doing. I think Chris Beard's become a better coach over the last year. I think he's learned I think he's had to learn that you're recruiting a different type of kid in Austin than in Lubbock, and how to coach that kid. And I just think I think they're really good. Like, I don't know if they're number 2, number 1, number 3, number 7. Like, I don't really care at this point. Like, I think it moves so much right now. No one's going to remember who was number 2 on December 5th. But right. They have a chance to win the Big 12. They have a chance to go to a Final Four. They have a chance to compete for a national championship. They proved it again against a very good Creighton team. I don't care what happened to. I don't care if Creighton lost to Nebraska. That's a very good basketball team. They're very talented.
Creighton's legit.
Yeah, they're really good. And maybe Creighton's gonna have some ups and downs like they showed today, but that's still a great win. I think it's a win that's going to age really well in March.
Yeah, I think that you hit on some good stuff. I think he's definitely. Last year was a hard year. Let's just be honest. It was a hard year for leaving Texas Tech, them having so much success, having some challenges at Texas, not having this new arena yet. I mean, everything's kind of been the perfect storm, though. It's almost like you talked about with Utah. Maybe it wasn't to the same level. They had way more hype, way more expectation. They signed a bunch of transfers, but they have way more of his type of guys, and he has evolved to them. They're running more. They're playing much faster. I think they're fast break points in this game, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't actually have it on this stat sheet in front of me, but I know they only had 3 turnovers, which is extremely impressive, the way that they've taken care of the ball. They're shooting more threes. They've made more threes against Gonzaga. They did in this particular game. No one did. But I think this team, what I like about them is they can win a lot of different ways. I think they can win playing in a high-scoring game. I think they can win in the grind games. Defensively, they're good, but their guard play, very good guard play. Marcus Carr, love him off the ball. Love how unselfish he's being in that secondary ball handler role, but he's kind of free up to be more of a volume shot taker. Made some huge plays on the stretch. Hunter is elite. He's an All-American type guard, in my opinion. And then I love Jabari Rice off the bench. So they just have a phenomenal guard, little trio there, and then all the other pieces with length and athleticism around the rim and role players. So definitely will be interesting to see, can they make threes on the road? Their defense will travel, and then can they make enough points in the paint? But I do like this team. I do think they're really good, and tip my hat to the job they've done, and they've created an incredible home environment for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Nothing more to add, my friend.
Let's go Rutgers. We'll go back to we haven't gone Big Ten yet. Let's go Rutgers.
I mean, I said it on Field 68 the other day, but Rutgers would beat the Knicks at the rack right now. It does not matter who walks into that building. They believe they're going to win. And they got a great win over Indiana. This is a team that, last year they took a really bad loss in the non-conference, I believe, to Lafayette. This year, they didn't take a bad one, but they lost to Temple on a neutral court, and they lost at Miami, their first kind of 2 big games, 2 big opportunities. So I think it was really important that they got to win to prove that they're, an NCAA tournament team, potentially a top 25 team. And they just were tougher than Indiana.
Yep.
And that's not surprising because they're tougher than pretty much everybody. But they just kind of walked in the gym and punked them and made Xavier Johnson really uncomfortable. They've got a freshman, Rutgers does. This kid, Derek Simpson, in-state kid, under-recruited, just awesome again. I mean, this program under Steve Peichel has been built on finding guys who are maybe a little under-recruited, guys who weren't valued necessarily by bigger programs, and just developing them and, getting guys to buy into their culture and their system. And they've got another one, and they've got another huge win at the rack. So shout out to Steve Peichel, who I just think continues to do one of the best jobs in college basketball in terms of how he is able to build programs at a really hard place to win.
Yeah, and kind of flown under the radar time and time again. And how do they stack up in the Big Ten before we move on from them? How do you think they stack up?
I mean, I was going through it earlier. Like, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, so I think the 10th best team in this conference is one of Rutgers, Michigan, and Michigan State. Michigan State beat Kentucky. Michigan just played Kentucky for 40 minutes and hung around with Virginia, it's best team in the ACC.
Yep.
And Rutgers just beat Indiana. So you tell me, it's a dang good league.
The deepest league?
Yes.
Gotta be. Yeah, you gotta give them that.
We'll see if there's a national championship level team, but really deep. Really, really deep.
Extremely. All right, what we got? Nick Smith, Cam Whitmore make debuts.
Yeah, we wanted to see these guys. I mean, two of the best NBA draft prospects in college basketball, two elite freshmen, two guys who I think changed their teams' ceilings, and both were dealing with kind of minor-ish injuries from the offseason that caused them not to get out there until this week. And it was just fun to watch them out there. Nick Smith had a really good game against San Jose State on Saturday. That's a great addition to have him back. I mean, he has a very real chance to be the number three pick in the draft. Kind of feels like Wembanyama is going to go 1, Scoot Henderson's going to go 2 from G League Ignite, but Nick Smith is really darn good. He's 6'5". He can really make shots. He can play with the ball. He can play without it. And there's a lack across college basketball of guards who can just go make plays.
Yeah.
And Arkansas has 3 in Jordan Anthony Black, Ricky Council, and now Nick Smith. They're going to be special. And then Villanova was kind of back against the wall, started 2-5, needed some help. And Cam Whitmore comes to the rescue, helps them to a very important home victory over Oklahoma, a game they kind of needed to have just because of where they stood before conference play. Didn't want to take a 6th loss. They found a way to rally from 11 down early on. And Whitmore is still coming along. You can see the rust kind of being shaken off, but like, man, oh man, he has a chance to be really good. He has a chance to be an all Big East level player as a freshman for Kyle Neptune.
Yeah, and kind of brings back that Villanova and the brand pedigree of player that they've had and kind of recognizable name. He definitely steps into that space that kind of has a little bit of a void now to be a face of this new era of passing the torch of Villanova basketball. Felt like it needed to be a player that, kind of makes their stamp or has a face as a national name that everyone talks about. And they have one. This cat is pretty good. All right, we go out to Mountain West country, which we're familiar with. We got Utah State, we got New Mexico, and we got a UNLV team that I think is still undefeated, if I'm not mistaken.
3 undefeated teams.
Yeah, let's talk Mountain West. It's different. It's funny. Last year, you knew Colorado State was going to be good. You knew San Diego State was going to be good. Boise thought they would be good. Maybe didn't know they were going to be that good. Conference champion good. And then Wyoming kind of sneaks in and you got these 4 teams. Here we are. It's not the way that everybody thought. San Diego State is really good. But New Mexico, Utah State, and UNLV were kind of in that next tier last year, and they're making the jump now. It's been cool to see. Tell me what you think about these guys.
Yeah, like obviously a lot of it is what teams were able to do in bringing in guys from the portal, right? New Mexico had already kind of laid the foundation with Mashburn and House last year, but then got Morris Udeze, who's been one of the best scorers in the Mountain West, and really changed their team because of his ability to score down low. Utah State brought in some key guys who really developed.
You did bring up Morris, and you did bring up Moji. You had another one. Who'd you just bring up last round? Brown from
Anthony Black.
Anthony Black. Excuse me, Anthony. All Texas guys. I just want to make sure I said it. All right, go ahead. Continue.
Yes, sir. Texas guys. Utah State developed Stephen Ashworth. He's been really good, but also added some guys from the portal who've developed and helped this team become more well-rounded. And then UNLV, it's almost a completely new roster. Brought in a ton of new faces, defense-first guys, and Kevin Cruz did a nice job kind of setting that as their culture, and they've been really tough to score on all season long. So, I think it's going to be a great Mountain West battle. I think Wyoming will be back in that mix once Graham Ike and Hunter Maldonado are healthy. I think Colorado State, obviously the injury to Stevens was a damper on things early, but they did a great job avoiding a bad loss until that Northern Colorado game, and Northern Colorado is super explosive. I think they're as good as anyone outside of San Diego State. So these battles, man, Boise State's been really, really solid quietly. These battles from 2 through 7, 2 through 8 in this conference are just going to be so much fun. And you're going to look up at the standings and see someone really good who's going to come in 7th in the Mountain West. You're like, man, Wyoming came in 7th in the Mountain West. And part of that, yeah, and you'll be like, wow, like you will be floored by the fact that like a team as good as Wyoming or New Mexico or Utah State is 7th in the Mountain West. But that's this league right now.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, again, going back to last year, 4 tournament teams, and right outside of that, I believe it was Fresno State and Utah State were super high in the net last year. That it felt like there was 6 teams in this conversation. They were in the top 75 in the net. Don't know how the net ranks will play out, and that doesn't necessarily matter per se, but it definitely feels like it's another multi-bid league, and Wyoming will be better when they get healthy. Graham Ike, preseason player of the year, has not played a game. Maldonado's been out. As you talked about, Colorado State did a good job when Isaiah Stevens was out. They're only going to get better with him there. He's still an all-conference player and will lead them to some great heights. So, yeah, it's going to be more must-see TV in this conference. And I wouldn't be surprised if whether it's Fresno, San Jose, whoever it is that also kind of gets in the mix and does some spoiler alerts in there too, because just a high level basketball league. So I'm excited to see how this all plays out. We're going to go Conference USA, a team that's transitioning last season in Conference USA. They're going to the American next year, I believe. Florida Atlantic. Dusty May started with a win against his former squad, not his former coach, but former squad at Florida. Big time win in state, and they've just kept it rolling, man. Talk about this team.
Yeah, they've been tremendous. And then this week, 2 more 25-plus point wins against South Alabama and Eastern Michigan, 2 talented teams.
Yep.
They're 56 now in Ken Palm. Like, that is a legit number for that program. And that is not a place that has traditionally won.
At all.
Before Dusty May got there, they had 5 seasons finishing over 500 in program history. He finishes 500 in his first 4 years, and now this year they have a team that could not just make the NCAA tournament, but I think win a game. Like, they're that level of good. They're very balanced offensively. They've got enough size on the interior with the Texas Tech transfer, Vlad Golden, big kid who's been really, really productive for them. So you just love the way they built it. Again, it hasn't been flashy. They're not like this has not been like everyone circles this coach and this program as, oh, they're rising. They've just kind of done their work quietly, gotten better, developed players, and then kind of added a couple pieces from the portal to round it out, and now have a team that, again, is really, really dangerous.
Yeah, 7-1, scored as much as 100 points in this last game. I think I'm gonna read the Sweeney tweet of earlier this evening. You pretty much just said it, but FAU has had 5 seasons above 500 in its history before Dusty May arrived. Owls have topped that mark in all 4 seasons under May now. NCAA tournament caliber team in year 5, 7-1, top 60 in Ken Palm. Yeah, got to give it to him. I love Dusty May. I got a chance to coach in this league, coach against him. I got a chance to know Dusty since he was at La Tech. Just a great dude and just a worker. Got a great staff. And, I think this is the cool part about college basketball, to be honest, is some places like an FAU is not built to just necessarily be good, really, period, if we want to be honest. It's not set up that way. So you get guys like this that are grinders and that understand how to figure it out. But it doesn't happen maybe the first few years. But here he is in year 5. Now they're getting some serious momentum. And it's cool to see. Tip your hat to them. Hope they keep that going. And top 60 in Ken Palm usually means if you stay healthy, you got a great chance to make a run, as you said. All right, conference play craziness. We're at the end, Sweeney 7. This is number 7. It's already begun. So we got some Pac-12 buzzer beaters. We got some conference play started. Big Ten has started, I believe. Yeah. And so it's going down.
Some really good mid-major games as well. I know Indiana State versus Drake was a super high-level game. I know I watched Youngstown State, Northern Kentucky on Thursday, which is a high-level overtime game between 2 really talented, really well-coached teams. You get upsets, right? Talk about Northwestern going to Breslin and beating Michigan State.
Yep.
The Pac-12 stuff with Utah beating Arizona, which we mentioned before. there's just a different level of unpredictability in this thing, and you know it better than anyone, B, but it's just fun to have it back. There's a different energy about a conference game than a non-league game, and it's kind of hard to explain why, especially when all the faces are new and it's transfers and it's whatever. But for whatever reason, you roll the ball out and something feels a little bit different when it's Pac-12 versus Pac-12 or Horizon League versus Horizon League.
Yeah, it started. I mean, we're December 3rd. I mean, December 4th. It's already started, which just doesn't even feel all the way right. But yeah, when you get to conference play, teams have familiarity with each other. Teams have played against each other. You're used to those teams and kind of playing against each other. And there's definitely a certain energy because they're playing for something different. I mean, there's a different record. We all have the seasons we talk about, kind of that preseason. You have conference season and you have conference tournament season. And if you're blessed to play after that, you have the postseason. So this is that second season. So you get a new life. And there's something about if you can start on some wins, man, it just gets your team believing. And if you can get away from that 0-2 or kind of burying a hole, your team just has a different energy and different life. So, yeah, conference play there's nothing like it anywhere. In every conference, everywhere, it feels like it's the best conference in the country because it's the hardest one to win a game in. So everyone would tell you, man, whatever league you're in is the best league in the country. So, yeah, exciting that conference play. Conference play has already started in December.
Yeah. Always getting into it earlier and earlier, trying to balance in 20 league game schedules and whatnot. So does make for it to be weird when you're less than a month in and you're playing a conference game, but it's the hand we're dealt, and I'm not complaining. So
no, I'm not complaining at all either. It's a lot easier to not complain on this side. I can tell you that. All right, let's go HBCU Team of the Week. Let's get to the awards so we can wrap out the show. HBCU Team of the Week.
Yeah, I just wanted to show a little love to South Carolina State.
Yeah.
Tough start to the year. They had a really difficult off season, right? Tony Madlock had good success in year one. He leaves for another great opportunity at Alabama State, but the coaching search took a very long time. It got them into the summer. They had the roster in flux, and so wins were going to be hard to come by. But Eric Martin's been doing this for a very long time. Was a very well respected assistant for Bob Huggins, and they've played a brutal schedule. Every game on the road. South Carolina, Kentucky, Wake Forest, you name it. And so for them to get their first win and to do it on the road against another team in the Carolinas in East Carolina, that's a special win. And then hung around a little bit with Furman as well. Very good mid-major team again in that region. So kudos to Eric Martin on win number one, and hopefully many more to come.
Yeah, congratulations there. Definitely not an easy situation you stepped into, so congratulations. Let's go next to Jackson State HBCU Player of the Week. We got Trace Young, not Trey Young for Atlanta Hawks. Trace Young.
Yeah, Trace was awesome. He's well traveled. Started at Wyoming and then wound up at Alabama State and now at Jackson State, following Mo Williams, and had one of the best games of his career in a road win at SMU. He had 28. 8 rebounds and 5 assists, 3 blocks, made 5 threes. Like, there are very, very few guys in the country that can put a stat line like that together. And to win again, I mean, going on the road and beating a program like SMU. I know obviously SMU is a little bit down this year, still kind of rebuilding under Rob Lanier, but that's a great program win, and Trace was a huge part of that first win of the year for Jackson State. So
yeah, you got to give him credit. I mean, he was just the best player on the floor in the game. I mean, anytime you can show up and do that and any type of road game, any type of guarantee game, big deal when you can do it. And congrats. And got them their first win of the year. Sometimes getting that when you play those brutal schedules, sometimes at the HBCU level, definitely in basketball, you're playing all these different high majors and just kind of on this fundraising tour. As you know, you're well documented in your article last year with Coppin State. So congrats to the first win. And we'll go next, mid-major team. I love what this program is doing. Another first-year head coach still isn't probably getting enough love, even though they beat TCU earlier in the year, 7-2. Northwestern State has been on a tear. Talk about these guys.
Yeah, how about this? I mean, for a Southland team to win 6 consecutive Division I non-conference games, 4 of those were on the road. 1 of them was a neutral court game, and the home win was against undefeated Southern Miss. That's a road win at TCU, a road win at Illinois State from the Missouri Valley, road win at Central Arkansas, neutral win against Bethune-Cookman, road win at Stephen F. Austin, tremendous program, and then beat a very good Southern Miss team on Sunday. So just a tremendous amount of credit to Corey Gibson, who really had to flip the roster. Obviously, in the Southland right now, that's kind of the name of the game, right? Bring in, turn the roster over quick, bring in a ton of talent, kind of the Richie Riley model that was so successful for him. We've seen guys like Austin Clunch and Steve Lutz do a really good job at their programs, and I think this is a group that can really contend for a Southland championship in year one because of the job they did, obviously in recruiting, but also in getting these guys to play together and be bought in, because you don't have the success that they're having this early if you don't have that level of buy-in and that level of culture in your program. So great wins this week for Northwestern State. Another kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but glad we could show them some love this week.
Yeah, well deserved. They probably could have gotten it in other weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of programs in the country, but this is another one of those programs similar to Nichols, as you mentioned, with Austin and Richie Riley, just not a super well-resourced place in general. I mean, Northwestern State's been on some challenging days. Hall of Fame coach there prior that, just they hadn't won a ton as far as they did earlier in his tenure. So to be able to go in there and get it flipped and turned that quickly, hard for anyone to do, but especially at a place that hasn't really done it and doesn't have the bells and whistles. So got to give full credit of coaching that league, been to that gym. Definitely know it's a grind in the Southland Conference. So tip your hat to win 6 games period in the non-conference, let alone 6 in a row. So tip your hat. Great home win against the undefeated team as well, and that road win against Stephen F. Austin was a big time win too. So keep it going. They're proving they're legit and have a great chance to make a run. Mid-major player, Youngstown State. You watched this game. You talked a little bit about it. Youngstown State doesn't get a lot of national love, similar to Northwestern State. We're going with some serious stretches here. I love it.
How about this?
Dwayne Cohill, is that how you say it?
Sir. Dwayne Cohill had 43 points against Wright State, who won the league last year.
Buckets.
Let me make this even crazier for you. In the second half of this game, they were trailing by 4 at halftime. They ended up winning the game by 11. Dwayne Cohill had 30 points in the second half on 11 of 11 shooting.
Jeez.
And how did he cap it off, you ask? He capped it off with a self alley-oop off the backboard dunk.
A little T-Mac. Okay, all right.
Like that is the craziest performance we'll see all year. 30 points and a half on 11 for 11. Like, come on, man. He's a bucket. And
video game numbers. Those are video game numbers. That's like playing on.
I played a lot of 2K.
Easy,
I've never put up numbers
everything.
like that. I've never put up numbers like that playing 2K. I'll tell you that. maybe I'm not good enough. But
yeah, you got to put it on easy, and you got to be 99 everything to get those kind. You know what I mean?
He was balling, man. Like he's really good. And Youngstown State is really good. Like again, probably the toughest job in the league.
Yeah.
They've been over 500. They've been over 500 3 years in a row, and now are off to a great start. They're actually favored in every game the rest of the way on their schedule per KenPom.
Wow.
Like this is a team that could win 25 games.
Wow.
And at Youngstown State, that deserves a lot of love. But a main reason why is Dwayne Cohill, who had 43 points today. So shout out to Dwayne.
I love it. All right. Shout out to Youngstown State and Northwestern State. Let's go. Mid-major madness in the building.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Coast to coast. We go on coast to coast. We're going to save the team for last. High major player of the week. I love this one. You can't not say boom on this.
It's your boy. It's your boy, Sule Boom from Xavier. There are a lot of good candidates this week, but this is a guy who's a friend of the program and a guy who has just been tremendous for Xavier. I mean, a complete difference maker for their team in year one under Sean Miller. His ability to step into the point guard position, right? I know he's always had that ability to play with the ball, play in space, but I don't think he's ever been asked to run a team quite the way that Xavier is asking him to do. Yep. And so the job he's done to take on that role and still be as efficient as he has been, moving up a level, like that's so rare. And you see so many guys trying to force themselves in that role fail. He's been the opposite. I mean, He had 23 points on 8 shots against West Virginia, 7 assists, 3 turnovers. And again, West Virginia is one of the most physical defenses in the country. They're long, they're athletic, and they have one of the best on-ball point guard defenders in the country in Joe Toussaint. And he balled out. He's been terrific. He was terrific at the PK 85, 23 in that Duke game, 22 against Florida. And was talking a little bit to the Florida bench after
as he should. Let him know.
Let him know. He's got a little swagger to him, which I love. So he deserves a lot of credit, and why not give him the High Major Player of the Week award?
Yeah, Oaktown's finest, man. I love this dude. I had the pleasure of coaching him during my time at UTEP, and I had a chance to just, we talked a lot in this time in the portal and just trying to figure out. And one thing I'll give him credit that he wanted to play point guard. He did not want to be another guy. I've already proven I can score. I know I can score. He led Conference USA in scoring at UTEP under Joe Golding, did a phenomenal job. Joe absolutely loved him. He would say all the time, he's just a winner, everyday guy, winner. Got him taking charges. He took a game-winning charge last year against Rice. I'll never forget it. I was like, wait a minute, Sule Boone's playing defense? But just completely about this life, and one of those guys that you love to root for because he's always in a great mood. You never see Sule Boone talking negative about people, not in a good mood, not bringing this joyful energy. And he just has, he's built similar to like a Reggie Miller body type. And you're like, wait a minute, how's this dude getting fouled? Look at this. This is probably the most underrated part of his game. In both of those games against West Virginia, he gets 14 free throw attempts and makes 11. Against Duke, 12 free throw attempts. So he has an ability against Florida. He gets to the line 8 times. He has the ability as not only a shot maker, but also as a guy who can get fouled. He's shooting. He's shooting from the 3 right now. 52% from the 3. 16 to 31. 54% from the field. 87 from the line. Averaging 16. I absolutely love it for this dude, man. He was adamant in the portal. I want to go somewhere where I can go to the tournament, I can be on the national stage, and I can be a point guard. And he's gotten everything he's wanted. They've done a great job with him. And shout out to Sule Boone, man. Tell him buckets for sale, Sule. And you got some dimes too. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. And then lastly, High Major Team of the Week. What you got, man? There's a lot of opportunities for a lot of teams, but
it was hard. A lot of teams got one great win and then fell off. But I wanted to give some love to Nebraska just because it feels like, it's such a hard time for this program the last several years. And it's easy to rag on the defeats, but when you get a program defining win like this on the road against your in-state rival in Creighton, just awesome. And probably the coolest thing was the fact that, the guys that did it for them were 2 guys who've been, in different ways kind of bought into this thing for a while. One was Sam Griesel, who was a grad transfer from North Dakota State. Just an unbelievable story. Sam Griesel grew up in Lincoln, went to, I believe, Lincoln East High School, couple miles from campus. Always wanted to go to Nebraska. Nebraska never called him once. Goes to North Dakota State, goes from rotation player to really good player to one of the best players in the league. Goes into the portal, gets an opportunity to play at his home state school, and now not only is he there, but he's a starting point guard. He's speaking at media day. He's a leader, a veteran, a guy who they look to really carry this team. And he had, again, coming home in this rivalry game, one of the biggest stages he's ever played on, 18 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 6'7" point guard. They were backing him down onto the block like he was Hunter Maldonado. It was a wild scene. And then Derek Walker, one of the guys who's bought in for them for a long time, 3-year guy in the program, leader, 22 points, 8 rebounds, won the battle with Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's one of the best bigs in the country. So great week for Nebraska. 2 good wins against Creighton and BC. Schedule doesn't get easier. They go road Indiana, home Purdue this week. So the winning might slow down for a week, but that's more to say about the opponents than it does about a Nebraska team that is improved, right? I don't know if they're a tournament team. I don't know if they're an NIT team, but for where they've been, this is the best I've seen Nebraska in the Fred Hoiberg era.
Yeah, and I think the part with this game against Creighton. So Creighton's obviously a team that made a run last year and had these guys coming back, and everybody was excited about in the offseason. They did a good job recruiting and picking up some added weapons. And I mean, against Texas, they couldn't make a three. They literally were at one point like 8% on like 20 attempts. It was wild. And then here they are. They didn't shoot it great, but they made 10. They made 10 threes, but they only shot 30% from the field. So credit to Nebraska's defense. They got it done. Also able to almost shoot 50% from the floor. Wasn't the prettiest game, but found a way to win and found a way to do it on the defensive end. To me, that's not necessarily what Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg teams have always been. They've kind of been more of an offensive-minded type of approach. So credit to Nebraska getting a gritty in-state win. That's huge, huge, huge for their momentum. And I'm actually going to get a chance to possibly see this team play against Kansas State. Going to make my first, hopefully, K-State Jareem Dowling appearance coming up. All right, so we're working on that. We'll see if we can make that happen. But
the Instagram story is gonna be popping off. I already know.
It'll be going down. It may be a whole weekend out there. Who knows? We don't know. But Coast to Coast News, we already did that. So we're closing the show. Another great one. It's time to get ready for the week. Is Kevin going anywhere this week for any games in person, or is everything virtual? What do we got?
Quiet week ahead. Gonna sit on my couch, watch some basketball.
How many versions so when you're at home, that's normally when you do your after dark. When are we doing after dark? What do we got?
I believe I'm on the 11th, so okay. Sunday, week from today.
I like it. I like it.
One a week on after dark. I'll be around. Lots of try to catch up on some stuff that I've missed. That's the one issue with being at games is you can't really watch the other games that are going on.
That's
so
true.
Maybe catch up, watch some film from the other Thanksgiving stuff that we missed, but. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe take a breath, go outside, do some Christmas shopping. Kind of need to do that.
So, oh man, I am excited. I do get to see my man Talvin Hester coach in person. They play Wyoming Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I get to call another one of my brother's games, which is always a treat. All right, one last thing for Kevin Sweeney. What is a day in a week? What does a little bit of your week look like? Give the people a little something to just – what does Kevin's week look like? Like, you're the man of college basketball. How do you manage all this? Like, give us one nugget inside. Not all the secret sauce. Just give us one.
I would say the biggest thing that would define, like, a week of mine is the fact that I'm trying to, like, really work during the day. But realistically, like, because I know I'm going to, like, spend most of my night watching games and, like, writing, tweeting, whatever, I'm definitely making, like a 3 p.m. random sprint out to the grocery store on, like, a Wednesday afternoon and getting stuff done in that. I learned during the season how to be much more efficient with my, like, afternoons because if not – because I wake up, I have 2 or 3 hours of work that I got to get done, and then I'm planning out stories, planning out trips. Lots of time spent on like airline sites and like ESPN schedules. Okay, how can I make this work? How can I make this work? And then trying to be efficient in the afternoon, catching up on whatever needs to get done. Laundry. I was like out of socks before I tried to go to Loyola yesterday. It was a little bad thing. Yeah. I keep my life hanging on like by a thread for 4 months while I deal with the basketball, and then like when April hits, I can like do a load of wash and
right.
do important stuff.
Sounds like college coaches. Yeah, real life.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Have a great week. We will see you guys next time. Thanks again.